Okay, let me ask you here. See, this is a change in the orientation of the education system.
That's right.
You are creating people who get addicted to playing with a toy that at the end of the day, they're not going to go seek a job in a company with a very nice, brand and reputation, but would like to take the toy forward, right? But my question was also relating to, see, where would you say your lab is in terms of state of the art in the area that you're working on a global scale?
Okay. So there are two labs we have. One is a fab, a nanofabrication fab. There we probably have competition with 3 or 4 fabs, university fabs in the whole world. Maybe perhaps Stanford, perhaps Cornell and Berkeley.
Okay.
I don't see any other competition.
Okay, so great.
But let me tell you that we also have a micro and nano characterization laboratory. And I challenge everybody sitting in this room, find a better lab in the world anywhere.
Okay, so this is exactly, I wanted to hear, that for the first time, it's not very often that you hear about an academic institution which can so confidently say that I have one of the top 5 labs in the world, right? Now, the area that you're working on MEMS and NEMS, which is essentially about creating sensors. Okay? And in yesterday's session, we heard so much about that the next big wave which is going to drive is all about wearable computing, all about smart electronics, the session yesterday. Now, some of the work that you're doing, is this capable of shaking up? Is this capable of creating the new breed of electronics, okay, which is going to marry sensing, electronics, and real-life applications, and leapfrog to something which is cutting-edge leaders in the world? Do you think that what you're doing is the opportunity on your hand today is pointing to something like that?
If it wasn't for that, it won't be worth doing. We wouldn't be, embarking upon this journey at all. It's not just about sensors. It's about looking at what the next shift in electronics is, which is not about scaling the way Moore's law has dictated electronics so far. When people talk about more than Moore's, and that's what we talk about too, that it's functional scaling. It's on the same chip that you have multiple layers of electronics. One layer could be, photonics, for example. Another layer is biosensors, so microfluidic channels on the same, in the same chip, right? But you have multiple stacks. You have vertical stacks. When you grow these vertical stacks with these different kind of heterogeneous kind of devices in them, you have a challenge at hand in system scaling that has not been addressed at all in science so far.
Sure.
And that's the challenge. And once that happens, then what you are saying is what the reality is.
Okay, so taking that challenge, so you're laying your hands on something which could be absolutely cutting edge. Now, do you also have a vision that how is this going to be taken to commercialization? And this is where our major challenge as a country is, that on the platform, on the base of this cutting edge research material and the bright PhD students that hopefully will come out in larger numbers, but how do you connect that to the entrepreneurial system, okay, which will be able to take it to a level of product, okay, which is not just incremental change. Now, today, most of the industry that we are working on incremental change because we have not invested the last 8 or 10 years of in doing that research and innovation, which could provide us a lasting leadership. Now, do you have a game plan that the work that you're doing can actually be connected to entrepreneurial ecosystem, short and medium enterprises, which Dr. Kiran talked about, and thereby create products, okay, which will then link to different application layers and be something which can be solution providers to the world, not on a Me Too basis, but on something which is like today you say TI is absolutely the world leader in the field of analog electronics. I'm just taking one example. Or Qualcomm is absolutely the world leader in wireless technology. Could you be, do you see that we can create the seeds of that kind of world leadership, and how are we working proactively towards that?
Right. So we are addressing that issue fairly seriously. As a matter of fact, the very birth of our lab was from MCIT, and when Mr. Chandrasekhar was the secretary, MCIT kept harping on this, that look, we are not in the business of funding just basic research. We want technology. So create technology and get it in the hands of industry. Then only we will give you money. We have worked ceaselessly from that time, okay, on this one issue, that how do you create these things and connect with industry? The question that you were asking, right? So, when he was secretary, we also presented an idea of how we can incubate companies. We work with large enterprises. We work with IBM and Samsungs of the world. We also work with the startups. And for startups, we proposed a model to MCIT, which is likely to be funded now, very soon, where we are saying that these students whom we are training in a different way, or, even faculty members, whoever, right, who has that entrepreneurial spirit, if they want to start a product company, we will help them from our side. And the point why, as a professor, I'm sitting in ISA panel, is that we are also connecting with industry at all fora. Okay? We are talking to NASSCOM president for this reason, right? That how do we get industry's mindshare and connection, which was missing with academics so far. So at our center, we have industry affiliate programs, which that program attracts industry that comes to us, and they're involved in our life. Okay? It's not, oh, you come and have a cup of tea and talk about, what industry is doing. No. They are involved so much that they dictate. They tell us, they advise that, look, you are working on this fantastic piece of science. But if you just tweaked it a little bit, 3 degrees to the north, right, it will be very useful to our industry in 3 years, 2 years, 5 years. And we are listening. So we are connecting with industry at all levels. Startup, and we are looking at how to fund these startups. Enterprises, which are big enterprises, that come to us with very clear-cut defined problems, as Professor Curran was saying in Quebec. One Tokyo Electron can come and say that this is the kind of dielectric, high-K dielectric material that we need with this much leakage current, and this is what we think will get the cake in next 6 years when we go to 15 nanometer node technology, or 22 nanometer node.
Actually, since our time is running out, I would just like to say that here, it's a very small cross section, but we have 4 very vested people, people with very strong vested interest sitting here, right here in. Mr. Chandrasekhar, also happens to be the one who funded that particular lab when he was playing the role of secretary at the DIT, and he also wears the hat of how to make the large body of the NASSCOM industry really far more competitive. Okay? So he has every interest in making this successful. Here is Dr. Curran sitting here, who already has a sufficient amount of large company participation. He has the largest aerospace companies sitting there, and very, very large companies. They have very defined problems to be solved, and they are equally willing to partner. Okay? Here you want to create and change the world.
Right.
Okay? And if I may represent entrepreneurs like us, and I speak on behalf of a large of throbbing hearts here who want to really participate in that and really be an active change agent. Now, what do you think is missing in 10 years from now, if we have to say that, yes, here India is known to be, is the undisputed leader in the field of wearable computing, which is driven from this particular science that is being developed right here. Where do you see the major gaps are? Now, I would just go around the table. Does this make sense? And if it makes sense, where is the gap? Where is the void?
I don't know if I would be competent to address the question of all the gaps, but I certainly would feel that one of the key elements is that we actually have to collaborate across different disciplines. And I think one of the nicest features of the whole lab and the facility that they have set up is that it has actually produced collaborations between faculty members who were in very, very different disciplines and were actually working in their own limited fields earlier. They might have been doing very great things, but in their limited field. This has actually brought them together. Now that analogy actually applies when you look across different sectors. Like I said, between IT and health, between IT and electronics. So this stream of innovation, which is a collaborative innovation coming forward, fueling the ecosystem of innovators, and then building these collaborations on a continuous basis, I think that's hard work. It might sound like something which is a simple thing, but believe me, that is also as much of hard work as the actual research and the perspiration that goes into it.
Sure.
Because you have to bring people, hearts and minds together.
Right.
And that is also not that easy very often.
Right.
And I think that is a part of the challenge.
So I just like to add here, see here, this is, yesterday we heard, one of the speakers said that President of India has declared this as a decade of innovation, right? Now in this decade of innovation, is there a possibility for us to, let the government yet, I may say, what I say is the 10 years back, today morning session we had that we talked about, the fab is really almost becoming a reality. Okay, most people in the audience, we all believed, yes, fab is around the corner. Now, which was started 10 years back. Now, if you're talking about this innovation element, now, to my mind, this looks like a much tougher task. But government has to play a role. A public exchequer has to play the role that a state of QVEC is playing. And QVEC is not alone. There are 5 or 6, 7 forward-thinking governments around the world who are actually doing this. Now, can we get that element? That is, to my mind, unless that money comes, because the entrepreneurs will come, they will run short of money. And this would not, the journey will be, before the journey is complete, you would have a death valley, and it will frustrate us once again. Okay? So is there a way that we can make it a national priority? And you as the president of NASSCOM, a very, very influential industry body, your younger partner, the IESA, which is also playing a, so is there a way that we can drive this as a national priority, okay? And so that, the elections are around the corner, and one of your pet themes has been that how do we make, the respective leaders, be it the Rahul Gandhi or Narendra Modi or Kejriwal or the Mamata Banerjees, all of them talking about, today they all talk about, I want to have right for food, okay? Which is, very immediate and short term, which will definitely produce election results. But what is the way out to make a national priority that politicians, okay, who are sitting on the top of all the funds, public funds, are really beginning to talk the language that we really want to steer India out of a Me Too race to become one of the leaders, leading world economies, knowledge economies. Would you, I may say, is this time ripe for, and this is a long and arduous journey.